Welcome to the iPad Podcast, a weekly podcast from Mac's Future.
Okay, welcome to episode 104 of the iPad Podcast. This is Lex at maxfuture.com, and today is July 2nd, 2012, and we have a lot of iPad news to discuss. And remember, this is a chit-chat-free podcast all about the iPad. You can support it by going to iTunes and giving it any sort of positive review, which would help other people find the podcast. Also going to Blip TV under Mac's Future or to YouTube, and you can check out the video version of this. So let's get to it. A lot of iPad stuff to talk about. Here we go. Okay, so the first big story we should really talk about is that Apple finally reached a settlement with that pesky company in China, Proview. Well, and remember, what this relates to is, before the iPad was launched, I guess in 2010, Apple went around the world and bought up the rights to the name iPad. And Apple went, around the world and didn't say, hey, we're Apple and we plan to launch one of the biggest, consumer products ever and tell us what price you want. No, nobody does that. Apple went around and, created another company name and went around secretly and said, hey, we're some unknown company and we want to buy the name iPad. And they didn't say why. And Apple approached a Taiwanese company that apparently owned the rights to iPad in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and mainland China, and bought it for a rather small amount of money in hindsight. And what happened was, after the big success of the iPad, a subsidiary of that Taiwanese company that was based in China, and the company was called Proview, claimed that the parent couldn't sell the name iPad and sued in a mainland China court and basically claimed billions of dollars worth of damages. And a Hong Kong court had agreed with Apple that Apple owned the rights, but things are a little not so righteous in China. And so Apple faced exposure from this crazy company in China that was claiming that it still owned the name iPad. But apparently word came either this morning or yesterday, that a settlement has been reached. And I guess there was mediation done by the company. And I'm looking at the NextWeb.com. It says here, in an article, it says the closure of the case was confirmed by a statement from the Guangdong High People's Court, which read, quote, the iPad dispute resolution is ended. Apple Inc. has transferred $60 million to the account of Guangdong High Court as requested in the mediation letter, end quote. And so basically, Proview had been seeking $400 million. So Apple was able to get them down to $60 million. I mean, this must really pain Apple's lawyers, because $60 million is still much more than, I think it was like $80,000 or something like that Apple paid for the iPad name. So, I mean, in a way, it's a shame, because to me it seems like a shakedown by some shady company in China. On the other hand, it brings closure to Apple, and Apple no longer has to worry that some crazy court in China is going to stop Apple from shipping iPads out of China or even selling iPads in China. So, this is, I guess, good news for Apple that there's no longer this lawsuit pending from Proview that seeks to stop the iPad from being sold anywhere in the world. So overall, I guess this is a decent outcome for Apple. Okay, so it looks like Apple may have another competitor in the iPad marketplace, and that's Google. Google last week during Google I/O, I guess on Wednesday of last week, announced a new tablet, a 7-inch tablet, which is more like the Kindle Fire in size and quality, and it's called the Nexus 7. And I guess Asus makes it, and it's based on an Asus 7-inch tablet that Asus previously, I guess, revealed. And so here's the crazy thing about the Nexus 7. It's a 7-inch device, but it goes for only $199, so it's super cheap, just like the Kindle Fire. On the other hand, it's integrated with Google's Google Play store, which is an online store where you have music, books, magazines, movies, and TVs, shows, and Android apps. So, I'm tempted to get it just because I've never had an Android device, and this would be a way to sort of test an Android device. And you can pre-order it now, and it comes in, I guess, sometime in July. Now, there's the $199 version, comes with 8 gigabytes of storage, which I think the Kindle Fire also has that. But you can spend a little more money, spend $249 and get a 16 gigabyte in storage, which is the same storage as the entry-level iPad, 16 gigabytes. So it's kind of, it's interesting that Google's doing this. Now, Google also announced that it is selling this device at cost. So it's not making any profit on selling this. And that's the same thing with the Kindle Fire. Now, you have to wonder what kind of strategy this is from Amazon and from Google to sell devices at cost, because what they're hoping is to make money some other way. Now, in terms of Amazon is considering making money by selling ebooks, selling movies, selling apps, or just having people buy through Amazon store. And Google, I guess, wants people to buy music, buy books, but also get Google-based advertising, and so Google could then sell advertising. But I think it's kind of a risky thing because, it costs money to make these devices, and you're not making any profit on selling it. Plus, the other thing in terms of Google with the Google Nexus is if there's no profit in selling it, aren't you undercutting any potential hardware customers who want to make a 7-inch tablet and put Android on it? Because they're going to have to sell it for at least $200. If they sell it for more than $200, who's going to buy it? So this isn't, I think, a very risky strategy from Google. Now, I should disclose I own stock in Apple, in Google, and Microsoft. But let's go into the specs. So far, the specs look pretty decent for the Google Nexus 7. It only has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It doesn't have any cell phone data connection. It has access to Wi-Fi 802.11 A, B, G, and N. And what else? It has USB sync charging cable and a dual-volt USB wall charger. And let's see, the screen seems to have higher resolution than the Kindle Fire. It has a 1280 x 800 display, which amounts to 216 pixels per square inch, which is pretty high. It has a backlit IPS display. Now, in terms of a camera, it only has a front-facing camera, no back-facing camera, and it's only of 1.2 megapixel quality. As for size and weight, it's only 340 grams, which is pretty light. It has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and it has a quad-core Tegra 3 processor. Also has a microphone. It has the ability to do NFC Android Beam, which could be useful for making payments later on. It has an accelerometer like the iPad. I guess that's good for gaming. And it also has GPS and a magnetometer and a gyroscope. So the GPS is kind of interesting because it's doesn't have cell phone data connection, but I guess between GPS and the Wi-Fi, it'll help you figure out where you're located. So, this is definitely heating up the tablet market, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on Apple to come out with a 7-inch tablet. Now, the price of this at 8 gigabytes is the same as the iPod Touch, and the iPod Touch, the 8 gigabyte, is also $199. And so I think the real challenge for Apple is how do you price the iPod Touch if a 7-inch tablet comes out? Now, Apple could make a much better 7-inch tablet than Amazon or Google. So think about that. What if Apple made a premium 7-inch tablet that was, much better and more robust than the Nexus 7. So how could it make it much better and more robust? Well, it could give it a nicer screen. It could give it a Retina display screen. And it could also give it better front and back cameras, because a 7-inch tablet is easier to use as a camera than, let's say, a 10-inch iPad. So I think that would be kind of cool and could justify a price premium for Apple's iPad over the Google Nexus 7 or the Kindle Fire. So let's say Apple came out with a 7-inch tablet and made it a premium. I think it could price it at $300. And at $300, a lot of people would buy the 7-inch iPad over the Google's Nexus 7 at $200, or the Kindle Fire. What else could Apple put in it other than the cameras and a better screen? I guess that's the main thing. Oh, give it cell phone data connection. Now that's a little tricky, because remember, Apple usually prices that about $125 more. So for example, the entry iPad at $500 has a counterpart that has cell phone data connection at I think it's like $629. So that cell phone data connection does add to the price of the device. So maybe Apple will have two 7-inch models, one that is Wi-Fi only at, let's say, $300, and one that is cell phone data connected. Now, what Apple could do right now, the iPad 2 is selling for $400. So Apple could get rid of the iPad 2, have the third generation iPad starting at $500, and then have the 7-inch iPad starting at $300. And to me, that would be a powerful lineup, and still allow Apple to sell the iPod Touch at $200. Now, maybe Apple will then drop the price of the iPod Touch from $200 to maybe $175. That would be kind of cool. Now, the real trick for Apple is how to do this all and still maintain significant margins in its product line, like 30%, 35%, 40%. So, I do think, though, that between the Kindle and the Nexus 7, Apple is under pressure to come out with a mid-size tablet that's between the size of the current iPad and the size of the Touch, the iPod Touch. Now, it's not just me who thinks that there's going to be a new iPad coming out that's 7 inches or so. CNET has an interesting story entitled "Analyst Predicts 7.85-inch iPad Mini for October." And the article is by Dan Farber of CNET. He writes that Pacific Crest Analyst, I guess that's a securities firm, a guy named Andy Hargreaves, believes that Apple will introduce a 7.85-inch iPad in the fall with 8 gigabytes of flash memory for $299 and sell 10 million of the minis by the end of 2012. So that's, what I told you before. I hadn't read this article, and it sort of matched up with my guess. And here it says, we anticipate, this is quoting the analyst, an entry-level 7.85-inch iPad with 8 gigabytes of NAND capacity to price at $299 with an initial gross margin of 31%. We estimate Apple will sell 10 million of these 7.85-inch iPads in the first quarter of 2012 and 35.2 million in 2013. And it goes on to say, quoting this guy, based on estimated component order volume, we believe our iPad mini unit estimates as well as within Apple's production capacity. And it says that they expect a 25% cannibalization of the larger 9.7-inch iPad. In other words, for every 4 7.85-inch iPads added, there would be a reduction of 1 9.7-inch iPad estimated. So they say that for 2013 fiscal year, the iPad estimate increases to 91.6 million iPads sold from 65.2 million. So the article goes on to say it's long been rumored that Apple is developing a 7-inch version of the iPad, but Apple has maintained a code of silence. Actually, it's interesting. He says the same thing I did, which is that he suggested that Apple would kill the $399 iPad too. So it's interesting. In this guy Hargreaves, he increased his price target for Apple to $690 from $630. So it's interesting. I mean, I sort of guessed these numbers, and another analyst also believes that Apple will go with that kind of pricing and that size iPad. So I don't know. To me, it makes sense. I do think, despite what Steve Jobs said, Steve Jobs poo-pooed the concept of a smaller iPad than a 10-inch screen. But I see a lot of people carrying regular Kindles and walking around and reading on the subway and on the street like small Kindles. And I think people want something that's in the in-between size between the size of an iPhone and an iPad. I mean, the iPad, I like the iPad, but it is kind of heavy, and you really can't hold it with one hand and read comfortably with one hand. So if you have a device that you can sort of hold in one hand and it's not too heavy, I think, people are going to clamor for that. And so if Apple can find a way to sell it and make a significant margin, I think Apple should do it, because it's leaving money on the street to Amazon and to Google. So, I think it does make sense. Now, China's not the only place that Apple had problems with the selling the iPad or having problems with the government. And Apple had problems in Australia, because I don't know if you recall, when the iPad 3rd generation launched in Australia, the regulators there claimed that there wasn't clear advertising by Apple about the fact that the 3rd generation iPad can work on American 4G cell data networks, but not 4G networks run outside of America. So Apple basically was accused of misleading advertising, and apparently, according to Business PC World, as part of a settlement, an Australian federal court judge ordered Apple to pay a $2.25 million fee and $300,000 in court costs to settle a lawsuit accusing the company of falsely marketing the 4G capabilities. Now, that's not a lot of money, but I don't think Apple likes the embarrassment of that. I mean, personally, I think the box made it clear that the 3rd generation iPad only had 4G service in the United States. So I don't really think there's many people who've been, deceived into thinking that it can run overseas. When Apple is selling stuff all around the world, you figure it's going to have some problems here and there. Now, the next story is very interesting. The Cult of Macs, Rob Lefebvre, had a very interesting article on June 30th entitled, "Is Your iPad Reading You?" And apparently it follows up on a Wall Street Journal article of the same day that discussed how the ebook industry is paying close attention to how people are reading their ebooks. And apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, the ebook sellers get information as to how quickly you're reading the ebooks, and are you reading all of them, are you skimming it? And they have a quote here from the Wall Street Journal that says the following: "It takes the average reader just 7 hours to read the final book in Suzanne Collins' Hunger Games trilogy on the Kobo e-reader, about 57 pages an hour. Nearly 18,000 Kindle readers have highlighted the same line from the second book in the series, quote, because sometimes things happen to people and they're not equipped to deal with them, end quote. And on Barnes & Noble's Nook, the first thing that most readers do upon finishing the first, quote, Hunger Games, end quote, book is to download the next one." So Cult of Mac's article basically says this is kind of concerning. Do you really want the ebook sellers to have this kind of data. On the other hand, I mean, is it so confidential? I mean, let's say you're checking in electronically, with an electronic card to a library. The library is going to have data as to how long does the average library consumer stay at the library. I mean, is it really that sensitive that you read a book, in 7 hours straight, or that if you take breaks? I mean, maybe there should be some disclaimer that says they're collecting that sort of matrix, but I can't even imagine how that's particularly controversial, just what parts of a book you're reading or how quickly you're reading it. So I don't know. I don't know if this is such a big deal, that Cult of Mac is making, or if it's just part of the data that's out there that people can get. I mean, if you really care about it, maybe we should lobby the EEF, which is the watchdog group on the internet, or write to Apple. But I don't know. I didn't find this to be particularly upsetting. Okay, so one of the big things that came down last week is that Google released a couple of apps for the iPad as part of Google I/O, and one app is a Chrome browser, and the Chrome browser, which Apple allowed to be downloaded on the iPad and the iPhone, is now, I guess, like the number one free app on the iPad. And I got to tell you, I mean, it's a decent browser, but in no way is it going to replace my Safari browser. Now, one thing that's nice about it is that you can sync your Google bookmarks, I guess, across Google Chrome browsers. So if you're using Google Chrome on your computer, you log into your Google account and you log into the Google Chrome browser on your iPhone or iPad, and it will sync. Now, I still don't think it's that great, and I don't think it's going to replace my Safari browser. So let me tell you why I don't really think the Chrome browser is such a great replacement for Safari on the iPad. Well, it's very different, and I think Google's trying to improve on the experience, but in some ways I don't think it does. One of the things that I don't like is that you got to sort of hunt for your bookmarks, and on Safari it's much easier getting to your bookmarks. They're sort of on Safari. Let's see, I launch my bookmarks, and you have that bookmark button, and you also can have bookmarks in into the bar that are in the bookmark bar. And if you have more bookmarks, you can have the bookmark tab drop down a window and you get them all. And the tabs are different on the iPhone. I'm sorry, on Chrome. So on Chrome, the tabs, instead of sort of being hanging down, they're almost like the tabs on when you've got folders, one behind of another, that are tabbed folders. So, that's an interesting way to do it, but let's get back to the bookmarks. The bookmarks, you have to press a button, and that has a drop-down window that gives you new tab, new incognito tab, bookmarks, and other devices. And then if you click bookmarks, you get your bookmarks, but you don't have them built under the ones that have in your browser bar. And you can access bookmarks in other devices if you sign into Chrome. But here's the thing, in iOS 6, Safari is going to have a little cloud built into the button near the bookmark bar. And when you press that cloud button, it's going to show you, organized by your computers, the other Safari browsers that you have and what pages are open. The other thing is it's slower. Apple doesn't give developers the same access to the full Safari tools that Safari uses WebKit. So it's a little slower than Safari. Now, the big thing really is, I do have bookmarks on Chrome and other computers as well as bookmarks on Safari. So if I was really desperate to find some bookmark on my Chrome browsers that I don't have on my Safari browsers, and it's on some other computer, having Chrome gives me that opportunity. So overall, I'm not as thrilled. A lot of people are all excited about this, but it's not for me. And the other problem is that it's not the default browser. Like, you can't launch Chrome. A lot of times I launch Safari in the iPad or the iPhone from other apps. For example, I might have a Twitter link, and I press the link and it says, do you want to launch it in Safari? And I say yes, and you can't do that with the Chrome browser. Now, there is a jailbreak tweak by the jailbreak developer Ryan Petrick that allows you to make the Chrome browser the default browser, but you would have to jailbreak your iPad or iPhone. So, I don't think it's such a great tool. Now, what's interesting is that it does have a dictation microphone in the browser. So even if you don't have the third generation iPad, if you have the second generation iPad, the Chrome browser does give you something that the Safari does not, and that is the ability to dictate into your browser. So I'm going to dictate something. Testing 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't know if it worked, but that is a feature, I guess, in Chrome that is standard on any iPad, that you can use the microphone button. So anyways, it's a free browser, and it's part of Google's efforts to be significant on the iOS platform, even though Apple is in the process of booting Google out of the iOS platform. Certainly, the Maps app is not going to be in a Google app in iOS 6. So Google must be really freaked out about that, and that's why I think it's releasing these additional Google products on the iPad and the iPhone. Now, the other app that Google released on the iPad last week is Google Drive, which is their online drive storage to compete with Dropbox, iCloud, and SkyDrive, which is Microsoft's product. And this one I like because I like having online storage, and Google Drive gives you 5 gigabytes free online. Dropbox gives you 2 gigabytes and initially for free. iCloud, I think iCloud gives you 5 gigabytes for free. But so the more you have of these things, the more options you have to store stuff online. So Google Drive is a free app, and it's cool because you can right now you can read your documents that you have in Google Drive or your tables, and I had saved some document there. So overall, it's good, and you have the choice of opening in Safari. I think that's kind of funny that you can't open it in Chrome. You can only open documents or websites or stuff that you've saved there in Safari. But the big thing is that at some point, it looks like Google Docs is going to be part of Google Drive. So eventually, I think Google is going to allow you to edit documents on Google Drive and open documents like spreadsheets, like documents, like PowerPoints, that sort of thing. So, this is cool. I mean, Google did say they're going to have an offline mode for Google Docs. So even on your computer, you're not going to have Google Docs just in the cloud. You're going to have the options to save stuff off the cloud in your computer or on your tablet. So Google Drive seems like, to me, more useful than the browser. Let's see, what does it say here? It says, well, you can be able to also share your photos and I guess even your videos. So, to me, it's one of many apps like Dropbox, like SkyDrive, and like Cubby. Cubby also has an app on the iPad and allows you to store offline documents. And I think they're releasing an open API for Google Drive so that developers will be able to make their apps work with Google Drive the way that they work with Dropbox. So, what we're seeing is just massive competition in this sort of online storage, online cloud services for everyday consumers. And so, you might want to check out Google Drive. It doesn't cost anything to get the 5 gigabytes. You just have to go online and create an account. Okay, another app that I think, I'm not sure if I talked about, but we should just talk about it again here, is that Apple finally released a separate podcast app called Podcasts by Apple. And it's a free app that allows you to peruse podcasts and also to subscribe to them and watch them. And it's kind of cool, particularly on the iPad, because when you start a podcast, it goes to this cool animation where where if you tap on the icon for your podcast, a virtual tape-to-tape reel pops up. So while you're playing your podcast, you have these two big reels, like the old-fashioned tape recordings, playing as if your podcast is on some sort of reel-to-reel tape. And you've got the turtle and the hare representing slowing down and speeding up your podcast. And you can also scroll forward. You can also jump 30 seconds forward or 10 seconds back, which I think is very useful because a lot of people one of the reasons I didn't like listening to podcasts in the music app or on iTunes is that a lot of times I want to skip over commercials in a podcast, and I would use a third-party podcast app, and now I have this free Apple podcasting app. And I think it's a handsome app. Some people are speculating that it's going to allow podcasters to sell their podcasts or have people subscribe to their podcasts for a fee, because there's a subscription or a redeem button associated with podcasts. I don't know if Apple's going to really do that, but it would be nice if Apple helped podcasters such as yours truly figure out a way to monetize their podcasts, because it does cost something to host podcasts and to do all the work. So one concept would be that maybe Apple could sell advertising on podcasts. In other words, just like in the Mac and the iOS App Store, Apple allows developers to put in code for iAds. Maybe Apple can set up a way for podcasters to incorporate some sort of advertising code into the podcasts to make it seamless to advertise on the podcast networks. So that would be kind of a cool way for Apple to help podcasters. But right now, I think it's nice that Apple's giving podcasters their own app so that podcast listeners can, find new shows and subscribe to new shows. So you can flip the app around. So on one side you have, you have the catalog, and in the catalog you have the library and you have the categories. And if you click categories, a pop-up window comes down and you can see you've got all arts, business, comedy, education, games and hobbies, government and organizations, health, kids and family, music, news and politics, religion and spirituality, science and medicine, society and culture, sports and recreation, technology, and TV and film. So if you click technology, you get a selection of podcasts, and they also have featured podcasts. So right now, let's see, Back to Work. I guess these are all tech shows that are featured in technology. You've got Build and Analyze. Leo Laporte's the tech guy. Hypercritical. And I guess to get featured in this will really help your podcasts. So it's kind of a cool app. It's free. And if you haven't downloaded it, you probably should, particularly if you're listening to this podcast. And let's see, I looked in the iPad section to see where the iPad podcast comes out. And I don't see it yet. Oh, well, actually I'm just a few flicks down from the beginning of if you search for iPad podcast, I'm on page 4. So they have basically 8 podcasts per page, and I'm on page 4. So anyways, check it out. It's a cool app, and it's free, and it's from Apple. Now, another app that I discovered, which is free and it's kind of cool, is the Piazza app by Piazza Technologies Inc. That's Piazza. It's a free app. And I discovered Piazza because I read an article that, twice a year Stanford has a course on how to create apps for the iOS platform, and it's very popular, and it's a big part of iTunes University, where various universities put their courses in video form and the notes online. And apparently Piazza is, and by its own description, is a leading social learning platform for higher education. And it says here it's used by hundreds of thousands of students for quick and accurate answers to their questions. And it's just a way for students to network and follow a course together. So apparently Piazza made a deal with Stanford so that the Stanford iOS class that's in iTunes University would be integrated with Piazza. And people could use Piazza to follow along week by week an already recorded course that Stanford had taught on coding apps for the iPhone. And so this free Piazza app is kind of cool because if you signed up for the class, which is called Coding Together, you can go in the iPad Piazza app and look at the different threads of discussions from students where, they'll have links to, to different helpful sites. So this is all about coding, right? So for example, we're on till lecture 3, so there's a pinned thread here, lecture 3 announcement, and somebody writes, for example, this is 154 views. Hello everyone, we hope you had a great first week and are enjoying the materials. A huge thanks to all for answering questions and assisting the others. This is awesome. Here are the lecture 3 materials. Video is available through iTunes. And so then it just sort of goes as an overview of the third class. And it's a way to form study groups together. There's a way to search information. So basically you have thousands of people who are taking this class together and collaborating on understanding the class and sharing materials in the class and answering questions about the class, all in this Piazza app. And the Piazza app is universal, so it's also on the iPhone, but also it scales well, and it's a full-on universal app. So I kind of like it, and I'm sort of using it to try to follow along this iOS coding course that Stanford teaches. So, if this is successful, I think you're going to see more and more of this collaboration between classes in iTunes and videos in iTunes U and this Piazza service, because it's a great way to create a community around a course and have people in different cities and people in different classes collaborate. So you should check out the app Piazza, because I think it's very worthwhile, particularly if you're trying to collaborate with other students who are following courses. Particularly, I think you're going to see more iTunes university videos collaborating with Piazza, so that while you watch the videos, you can also, interact with other students and help each other. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so one thing that I didn't cover before that also got updated is the great Flipboard app for the iPad, which if you haven't tried it, you should. It's free, and basically it just takes all sorts of news feeds and social media feeds like Twitter or Facebook feeds and turns it into a beautiful magazine-like layout on the iPad. There's also a Flipboard for the iPhone that's very cool, and it's really a great way to absorb content from magazines, newspapers, all sorts of stuff. And Flipboard got another upgrade, and it added the ability to have your G Plus feed go into Flipboard, so you can sign into your G Plus account on Flipboard and get the activities from your circles fed to you. Also, you can log into YouTube on your Flipboard account, and if you subscribe to videos on YouTube, they will also go to your channel on Flipboard. So those are two main things. And also, if you have a paid New York Times account, you can now get your subscription of the paid content through Flipboard. So Flipboard sort of is becoming like a de facto way to view a lot of content on your iPad. I think Apple should just buy Flipboard because it's such an integral part of the iPad. It's really beautiful. The iPhone version's gorgeous too. So that's like a major upgrade, and you wonder, it's so crucial to Apple, Flipboard on the iPad, that how long can it stay independent? What if Google offered to buy Flipboard? That's kind of dangerous for Apple. So anyways, it's a great app. It's a great update, and check it out. Now, another app that I've been playing around with on the iPad is an app made by the website Zumbox.com, Zumbox.com, and it's called Digital Postal Mail. Now, what Zumbox is, it's a very clever thing where you can sign up for free in Zumbox on the line, and then ask Zumbox to have all sorts of mail that you get come to you in PDF form in your Zumbox account. And basically, Zumbox is helping companies save trees. Instead of mailing paper to you, you can sign up to Zumbox to say, hey, you want your Con Edison bill, your utility bill, or some other bill from some company. And they have a long list of companies that work with Zumbox. And Zumbox is set up so if you don't trust not getting paper, you can sign up to both get it in the traditional paper way through the post office, but also for it to come as a PDF into your Zumbox account. And when Zumbox gets it, they send an email to you. But the beauty of the Zumbox app is that now you can get your digital mail, in PDF form in your Zumbox app on the iPad. So, and I guess it also works on the iPhone. So it's here's what it says. It says, in this app, you receive your household mail online instead of paper. Your household mail is delivered online in a secure, private, verified mailbox. It is electronically organized, filed, and stored for you forever for free. You can view mail, pay bills, or print an exact copy anytime you want. And then apparently in version 2.5, the interface is upgraded to digital postal mail, powered by Zumbox, stability and performance enhancements, upload documents and photos, and the ability to verify your account, ability to get more digital postal mail. So it's pretty cool. I kind of like it. Some of the reviews are pretty good. It says, great app, allows me to get my bills, utilities, cell phone, cable in one spot, shows me how much I owe for each bill, and lets me store them for free. So it's I just started using it, but it's a good utility, and essentially it's free. So check it out. Okay, another free app that I started playing around with is something called OfficeTime, time and expense tracking, and it's free. And basically, it's a way to keep track of the work that you do, and if you ever want to bill for it. So it's a good business app. So here's the description. It says OfficeTime is an amazingly intuitive time tracker where other timekeepers are clumsy or oversimplified. OfficeTime balances features and ease of use, allowing you to easily track exactly what you do each day. It says here, effortlessly capture your hours and expenses, easily track your projects in life, designed for freelancers and small teams, track by project and category, multiple hourly rates, run multiple timers, rapidly switch tasks, time in the background, pay no monthly fees, work offline, no need for Wi-Fi or 3G, easily upgrade to the Pro version so that you can track unlimited projects and categories, so that you can export to Excel or Numbers, or that you can sync to OfficeTime sold separately on your Mac or PC, or get cross-team reports on your desktop, or keep your data when you upgrade. So there is a paid version, and this is the free version. And I've fooled around with it, and it's pretty cool. It's got a nice interface. It's got a nice way to input in the time, and to keep multiple projects. And it's a good time tracker. The reviews are generally good. Great tool. It's exactly what you need and cleanly put together. So if you really like it, you try the free version. And if you really like it, you can upgrade to the Pro version, which has more, I guess you can put more data in there. And it says in the Pro version has been upgraded to 1.3. Oh, by the way, the Pro version costs $7.99. So look, get the free version, and if you like it a lot, get the paid version. So it says in version 1.3 has over 3 dozen enhancements designed to make OfficeTime smoother and your life better, including better export and new iPad Retina support. So they seem to be, building on this app. By the way, for the paid version, it says guaranteed 100% refund if it doesn't pay for itself in an increased productivity recording. So, the developers of this, let's see, who are the developers? Stephen Dodd. He's generally getting good reviews here. And I like his attitude where he says he'll give you 100% satisfaction. So, if you need to keep time of your expenses and your time, this seems to be a pretty good utility. And again, try out the free version. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy the paid version. And if you really like it, it's probably worth upgrading. Okay, so Fidelity, the big financial outfit, they've long had an iPad app out and an iPhone app, and they recently upgraded it on June 28th to version 2.2. And what's interesting is that they redesigned the trade ticket so that there's additional quote detail and option chain search and extended hours trading. And also there's a full screen option train with volume open interest histograms, an array of filters, and a PC price-C ratio indicator. And there's charting enhancements, including standard candlestick and extended hours charts, logarithmic pricing, and new indicators. And there's also now access to Fidelity Viewpoints, which Fidelity says is their latest thinking on the financial markets, investing ideas, and personal finances. Also, there is a convenient investor center locator, which you can access. So basically, they've enhanced this app. Some people say it's buggy in the comments, but if you're a big Fidelity customer and you have an iPad it's probably worth getting this free app, which allows you to access your account. You can check your balances. You can use 10 technical indicators across a variety of chart styles, and it's got all sorts of ways to sort of analyze your investing and trading strategy. So it's free, and it's been upgraded. So check it out if you either have a Fidelity account and have an iPad. Okay, so another free app that you might want to download that's been kind of popular on the iOS devices, including the iPad, is a new gaming app, and it's free, but obviously it's not totally free because there's in-app purchases, but it's kind of a simple but pretty game, and basically it's called Flow Free. And the description, it works with Game Center, is connect matching colors with pipe to create a flow, pair all colors, and cover the entire board to solve each puzzle. But watch out, pipes will break if they cross or overlap. So basically, the design of this is there's a black background with a grid, and there are these like dots or in different colors, like blue, 2 blue dots, let's say 2 red dots, 2 yellow dots, 2 orange dots, 2 green dots. And you have to connect the 2 colored dots together, but they're laid out in a way that you can't cross any pipes. So you have to figure out the paths for connecting 2 dots that don't cross over the path of another 2 dots. And when you connect them, it makes like a color pipe that's in the color of the dots. So it's visually kind of pretty, and it gets, as you solve them, it gets more complicated, more dots. It says here, Flow features content 10 different board sizes, 30 free levels of each type, free classic and jumbo level packs, 300 free levels available in free play mode, additional level packs available for purchase. So, I found it kind of fun to play with. It is a little bit challenging. I really do like the colors against the black background. It's got a very kind of stunning colored look to it, and it works with Game Center. And the in-app purchases, they're like 99 cents for a green pack, 99 cents for a blue pack, 99 cents for a purple pack. So I've just started exploring this game, but it does have a very very cool interface. These different colored dots against the black background. So it is kind of addictive, and kids like it. So you should check it out. It's kind of cool. So one of the most whimsical stories I came across, something I came across today on CNET.com, written by Eric Mack on July 2nd. And this is kind of clever. Apparently there's a Kickstarter project. Kickstarter is that website where people who make stuff can say, listen, I'm trying to raise X to make something. And, if you contribute, you can get either credit or I can give you the product, for what you contribute. And so it's become very popular. And so Eric Mack found this interesting Kickstarter project, and he entitled the story, Coney Island Boardwalk Becomes iPad Stand Amplifier. And he has a picture here. So apparently on Kickstarter, there is is it a 14-year-old? But anyway, it says the sounder is an iPad, iPhone stand, and amplifier with some real Americana credibility. And apparently it's this amplifier made out of wooden stands that come from the Coney Island boardwalk. And the person behind it is somebody named Howard Fink. He is the author and carpenter behind the sounder. He's offering the Coney Island edition for a discounted 4th of July price of $175. And so it's apparently made from this beautiful old wood from Coney Island. He goes on to say that non-Coney Island sounders are available for pledges of as little as $75. So basically you pay a lot more money to have this wood from Coney Island. This guy Fink, according to the article, says that the history behind this simple stand amp goes back almost half a millennia. The wood spent 5 decades being trampled on by sweaty families and hyperactive kids. So it's kind of a nice recycling of old wood or old structures. It's nice that it's going to something worthwhile. So let's see if we can see the Kickstarter page. So far he's raised $4,499 and has 43 backers. I mean, it is kind of pricey. So basically, for $75, you get the actual sounder amplifier, and for less, you don't get much. For $20, he'll send you the paper airplane model that one time aloft at the Millennium. Well, wait. If you get $20 or more, he'll send you the piece created when the horn shape is cut out to create a sounder. With the edges smoothed off, it makes a terrific doorstop. So really, now if you send $95, it says, he's got kind of a sense of humor. He says, get a sounder stand made from reclaimed yellow pine lumber in a natural finish. These will retail for $125 if the project gets funded. And then for $125, you get the sounder in the reclaimed yellow pine and black finish. So I don't know. I mean, to me, it looks like a block of wood that's been carefully carved and I guess optimized so that it can, create a lot of sound naturally through some wood. I mean, he's got other pictures here. You can use it with a ebook reader. So, I mean, he's got lots of pictures that show that the wood and the lumber is really, really, really nice. So he needs to raise, let's see, he needs to raise $50,000, and he's only raised $4,499. So nothing's going to happen unless he reaches $50,000 by July 21st. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to make it. That's a lot. Okay, so that's it for episode 104 of the iPad podcast. This is Lex at maxfuture.com. Thanks for listening. You can support this podcast by giving it a positive review in the iTunes store. That'll help other people find the podcast and helps me compete with some of the big boys, who like Twit Network and 5x5. I'm just here on my own, just cranking this out, and just trying to stay real and not, engage in crazy chit chat, but just talk about iPad related stuff. So thanks for listening and see you next week.
This has been a Max Future production.